So the topic, as I mentioned, is analytical meditation, generally speaking, and then each evening we have specific topic. And so I will say a few words by way of introducing the distinct nature and purpose of analytical meditation as opposed to with other meditations. In Buddhism, generally there are two types of meditation: the analytical meditation and one-pointed meditation. Actually, it's quite confusing when you use the word one-pointed, because even analytical meditation could be one-pointed, because you focus on one subject. But the distinct nature of these two meditations is analytical meditation is basically using your reasoning on a particular topic, and then you choose one topic, and after you have done listening teachings on it, and then contemplating on it, and then you set aside time, you go and particularly sit and analyze, meditate systematically on that, so that you understand the topic, such as, like tonight we're going to do the subject of Buddha nature. And so, therefore, meditation will be on the subject of Buddha nature. But the meditation itself is analyzing, reasoning, rationalizing what is Buddha nature, and what is it that is Buddha nature. We first try to understand if there are many types, which of these two or three we need to cultivate. If we need to cultivate all, in what sequence and why in that sequence. And so you analyze. Basically, the teachers, exponents of analytical meditation will argue that you are always doing analytical meditation when you are listening to teaching or when you're reading, in a not maybe very disciplined manner, but you're actually trying to understand the teaching. And analytical meditation can be said to be derived from mainly study and contemplating, and also maybe formally meditating on it. But even when you're listening, you are actually meditating, or hope so, which means to pay your attention one-pointedly on that topic, so that you actually get to a good understanding logically. And any kind of clarity that you came from that listening then slowly distills as a very valid information, and that goes into your kind of agreeable part of your thought, and because it became part of your thought, at least in terms of intellectually, you understood that to be, and you can easily think and reason and understand. The Tibetan word che which means analytical. Che means examination. Gom means meditation. You get used to the analytical you did, and therefore you got a good finding on that, where there's a good intellectual conviction on that subject. So that's one level of analytical meditation, just intellectual level. And then second is that intellectual knowledge that you have, you then subsequently contemplate on that in relation to everyday life situation, to make that relevant, to apply that in everyday. See whether your thought about life's difficulties or situations are bettered by that thought. If it does, then you start to adopt that as your philosophy, your way of thinking. And they call Buddhist thought. So the Buddhist thought is not Buddhist thought; it's become your thought, and as a result of that, you are finding great many benefits by relying on that thought. And not only did you hear on it intellectually first, but you actually you checked and you analyzed not only when you're listening, but you also tested in your own life's questions and so forth, and you found them to be very, very, very elucidating, very, very revealing and liberating. So therefore you are doing analytical in terms of your thought level, not just intellect level. Then the third level of analytical meditation is when you actually sit down and then focus, say, on a topic like Buddha nature and then try to have kind of the intellectual knowledge that you heard or been thought, and then actually you try to experience something convincingly that got validated through experience. So and therefore it's no longer a thought; it's an experience. As a result of that, it has helped you to fashion and negotiate everything in life with a lot more benefit because of that knowledge on the thing, you know. So it's more lived through. As a result of that, you don't need convincing by others. You basically, it's they call power of knowledge. Yeah. If the analytical meditation on the subject has become useful, the usefulness is that it has empowered you. It become powerful in terms of relieving sufferings, benefiting others, reconciling difficulties, finding more useful techniques, and more speedily, more intelligibly. So you can see the power of analytical knowledge, such as on teaching on emptiness. You heard, you read, and then you did analytical meditation, and then in dealing with certain difficulties in life, you bring the understanding of emptiness, and then unpack the problem that looks one unit. One unit looks like problem is unitary and maybe single object cause. That is the wrong view. That's the view we see, and then we use the analytical mind, and then we unpack them with a reductionist theory top, and then try to see the not even a particle that in it that exists by itself. And so then you see the emptiness of the problem, or emptiness of a single cause, or cause that is unitarily causing other things. You can't have one causing itself. It's unnecessary. And so you therefore learn to argue very well so that you don't point your crooked finger to anyone or anything that, oh, you did this, he did this. You don't do that anymore. You back off, and you find it useful not to blame anyone or anything. But you can see the dependent origination of things. You can see how everything is made out of many things that itself is not. That includes self. That includes other. That includes phenomena, and so on. And then so you can find the usefulness of it. So the analytical meditation actually gives the biggest sort of I would say the ammunition to do one-pointed meditation. Even when you do the one-pointed meditation, the subject might be calm abiding one-pointed meditation, but we keep having to tell what that is calm abiding. So we actually do a lot of analytical before. And then maybe if you spend a lot of time, you might have really one-pointed meditation. And that's usually when we're very, very senile. Nothing much is left of us. All the time we spend too much analytical. Very few people actually do one-pointed meditation because they didn't study the subject to do single-pointed meditation until they want to meditate. So they haven't done any study of that. So often the one-pointed meditation is very difficult with good analytical meditation. So analytical meditation is usually we call it the teachings. And lots of Buddhist teaching when they give in students and people listening, and on that level they are using their rationale, examining the veracity of it or lack thereof, and then they're arguing for it again, arguing against it, and so there is a distillation in the reception of the knowledge, and then what you couldn't accept and understand, you don't have to. You can never accept anything unless you analyze. And when you understand them, then slowly you make them useful to your thoughts, to your way of doing things in life. And the teaching itself, the word teaching itself says, it teaches us. It teaches us how to see things with your own naked experience, not believe in something on the basis of the authority or quotation or something, but you got to be really valid experience from yourself, how you understood to be, what is suffering, what is cause, how it can be eliminated. If you experience suffering and you haven't been just denying it, and you really experience suffering and understood what it is, you will know it is not as you thought it is. Because it's not permanent, it is not self-created, it doesn't exist from its own side. And when you begin to analyze suffering, for instance, and then you firstly refute the wrong views, thinking suffering is permanent, suffering is single caused, suffering exists from its own side. Suffering basically is demeaning. All these wrong, erroneous views, which we therefore deny and despise suffering, will be corrected by the analytical meditation. We understand the suffering to be exactly opposite what we. Suffering is actually not permanent. Suffering is not caused by one thing, and suffering is not truly existing. Suffering is actually not bad because it teaches, it becomes the cause of compassion if we truly understood it. So that kind of understanding, analytically when you reason it, and then later on you really mature it. And next time when you meet any suffering, whether it's yours or others, you don't have this reaction, you don't have this aversion to suffering, but instead compassion to suffering. So that would be the benefit of analytical meditation on suffering, for instance. And in order to have a really good understanding, ability to do that, we therefore meditate on sufferings, on not just our particular experience, sufferings of others, which we have not even imagined that others suffer. Others have to go through that every day, or sufferings of other kind of people, or their life, or their everyday's job, or lack thereof, and have no place to live, or whatever, and then other realms of existence, and so on. When you meditate on that, then you really have a huge understanding. So it's all analytical meditation, and only difference we will do this term is we will discipline to focus on one topic, and then try to get have a good reasonable understanding on that, and then we will meditate on that so that we know how to do analytical meditation straight after teaching, because people usually do, even they're not taught to do. They go to the teachings and see you next week, and they see you next week. Then what did they do? What they heard during the week? They've been analyzing it. They've been verifying it. They've been checking it, the notes with the life's journey, and they try to bring the teaching in some use. And they're already doing that sort of kind of as unconsciously or consciously. So that's what people are really are getting a lot more knowledge of life through the teachings of the enlightened one. Okay, so that's just brief introduction to analytical meditation. And tonight our subject matter is Buddha nature. And so this handout is here for you. We'll follow that. Firstly, we need to know the nature, or what Buddha nature is. Buddha means really awakening, awakened ones, or light, or one who's wise, and one who's compassionate, one who's fully good and completely good. And so nature means that actually it has a character. So Buddha nature is a very important Buddhist Mahayana Buddhist topic, which says that everyone has Buddha nature, and the Buddha nature is like light. So it's like saying every room has light or space, like every sentient being from deluded ordinary sentient being or fully enlightened sentient being like the Buddha, the intrinsic nature of these two are not different but they both have Buddha nature. So that means they are basically, I put it simplistic terms, everyone is light or everyone is divine. Everyone is good. The Tibetan teacher, the late Tibetan teacher, what is his name, Chogyam Trungpa, when he started teaching in the West in the early 70s, he called it basic goodness, He said that everybody has a basic goodness. And everything is product of that basic goodness. And it may not manifest, but everything has that basic goodness. It's complete different from saying original sin. It's like the original goodness, that everybody is good. Just that we need to know whether that goodness is recognized, witnessed, or encouraged. And Mahayana teachings encourages that, The introduction and the people knowing that everybody has Buddha nature, everybody has kindness and wish to benefit, help others in their intent. Everybody cares for others, and that primarily is the main purpose of everybody's is life. They want to be useful. They want to be of service to others. Nobody actually have any opposite intention. So Buddha nature, Sanskrit is called Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata means thus enlightened one. Garbha means the womb of enlightenment. Or you can say the potential of enlightened one. Buddha potential, some people translate that as Buddha potential, instead of calling Buddha nature. So you gotta firstly understand that. And what is that nature? It is basically universally good, and it is not different from others. When you really have got a good grip of that good Buddha nature, Buddha nature basically, will explain, has a very kind, very soft, very light-like. Light doesn't distinguish. Oh, I'm not going to go there. This Indonesian territory. We'll stay here. Light doesn't make any demarcations. No, it's light. Just sun's light just goes everywhere. This side is Everest. That side is other side of Everest, and the light doesn't discriminate. It just gives the light everywhere. So when you have the Buddha nature up your sleeves, you will flourish. You will flourish that this boundary of me and other is un-Buddha nature. It's closed-mindedness. So Buddha nature is complete openness. It's complete kindness and complete selflessness, and therefore. It is good. It is not. You can't tell your goodness and my goodness when we both practice that. You have this infinite oneness with everything. So it's and from the one point of view, it's the ultimate quality of everyone. And now it will be revealed a bit more by looking at are there types of Buddha nature? Yeah, there are two types of Buddha nature. One is the natural potential, what we call natural Buddha potential, but the other one is cultivated Buddha potential. So all sentient beings has that natural Buddha nature, naturally abiding Buddha nature, It's there everywhere. It's just like the creamy milk has butter in it. It may not float on the surface by itself, but it's there. It's there. You just have to churn it, So that's like it's got butter. But whether you have churned it or not, if you churned it, then you can make butter from the cream, and then the milky cream becomes watery white water, and because cream has become butter. So it's waste. it's kind of waste aspect of the thing gets separated from the essence. So therefore, the difference therefore is all sentient beings have the form of Buddha nature, the natural Buddha nature, yeah. But only those who are consciously thinking like this and then acting and changing their behavior as the enlightened one, as the kind, as the good, as the compassionate, as the seeing one who sees the basic goodness everyone and not to make any discrimination. Consciously cultivating that, he has the cultivated Buddha nature. And that cultivated Buddha nature exists only in usually human beings, those who are born in this very planet and not any of the other 11 or 13 or many other planets. So it's even within the people born in the planet Earth, the very small fraction of them will be consciously cultivating that. A majority are not, unfortunately, doing that. So they all have naturally abiding Buddha nature, but they are not consciously cultivating. So consciously cultivating Buddha, people who are consciously cultivating are those who have actually embraced and made a vow to practice kindness and non-discrimination, to practice goodwill, compassion, and those who have adopted the behavior or training, at least training of the Buddha Dharma in general, and particularly the altruistic model. So Buddha nature is not explicitly discussed in the entire Buddhist literature. It's only it's within the Mahayana Buddhist literature. It is more explicitly discussed. And other Buddhists may not use the Buddha nature concept, they don't, but they still teach you practice loving kindness, compassion, and all of that. So therefore we can't say, this is ours, they don't have it. No, that doesn't sound like you have Buddha nature at all. Yourself. Oh, they haven't got it. We're the one who, our school got the Buddha nature. They don't know. Let's see, straight away we haven't got it. so be careful. So it's not the kind of a doctrinal thing. If people think it's doctrinal, you get into trouble. It is undoctrinal. It is altruistic. It is completely breaking the barriers and discriminations of all. So it is very yogic. In a Buddhist school, we have a Mahayana Buddhist school, and it has a particular school called Yogacharya. Yoga means meditative, really, abundantly meditating. Charya means habit. The habit is abundantly meditating and consciously seeking to become enlightened by aspiring altruism for the benefit of all beings. So those who have deliberately, consciously made that vow and training, and they are actually cultivating the Buddha potential. So that's two types. Not two types really. Basically, the one who is consciously cultivating it, and the one has creamy bottled milk, but they don't want to make milk butter from that. They just drink that, and that's it. That's it. And occasionally they see butter, but they're very amazed where they got from. They just don't know that the milk they have is actually the one. So they think it comes from heaven or so that kind of thing. They think, oh, I haven't got. So they don't know how valuable their milk is. so that's clear, isn't it? That's explicit. Very clear. So how do you know you have Buddha nature? Yeah. So these are signs of Buddha nature. It's just, how do you know there's fire? You can see smoke and so on. So you inferentially cultivate. You need to identify that. How do you know it's creamy milk? It's usually written, written all over the milk that it's a creamy milk, isn't it? So we should be. If you look in everyone and anyone one's own heart, you wouldn't be surprised that you have this kind and possessing great compassion. This is the character, Signs of Buddha nature is no matter what it is you do. Some people get right and wrong idea very quickly. They say, "Oh, they have to be right." That's all the time. And it's difficult to get to know that it's important to be kind and compassionate. So those who have a lot of allegiance to kind and compassionate, and they have more obvious, more expressed and manifest Buddha nature. Some people's Buddha nature is more manifest than others, because they're very kind to everyone, and they really don't want to do anything that going to add to the misery that they already. And so therefore, non-judgmental, non-punitive, and non-reactive, but instead, one who, like the mother, behaves in front of her crying child. That's the kind of a quality of a mother, nature of a mother, a sign that she's a mother, isn't it? Like that one who has Buddha nature feels almost anyone who's suffering is almost her unrecognized child, and then adopts as one. And the question is just how much we can adopt, but we actually have that. So, and if you really look at that, you can see that even animals do that. When they see the young and old in trouble, they go and try to relieve them. They lick the wounds. They try to do all sorts of, even though they got no Band-Aid or they have no first aid kit, but they have the tongue kit. So beautiful when you watch that. That's a sign that even animals got Buddha nature. They rather risk themselves and try to cover others. And that shows animals also Buddha nature. Sometimes more manifest. And you may wonder, sometimes people are not manifesting these things. They're just instead resorting to aggression and punishment and all of that, exactly opposite. So that would be covered in the next section called impaired Buddha nature. Buddha nature has been a little bit impaired, and it has been a little bit sort of... Anyway, so let's focus on the signs of its existence. First of all, kind and great, possessing great compassion. So basically very non-violent, yeah, and have faith in the non-violence, and see the benefit of it, and it doesn't tempt you to do anything to react and punish and become violent, and you will do anything to restrain from violence, and do anything to promote kindness and peace and forgiveness between each other. So that would be manifest signs of Buddha nature. And when you yourself do experience difficulties, you're patient. You're too patient towards harm created by others to you. And usually there are someone near, dear, close people. And you might feel justified to protect or self-defense, whatever rubbish you call it, self-defense. In the name of defense, we all become very offensive. So all the defense departments are offense department. So all these people going to these gyms learning self-defense. It's not a good sign, really. I'm sure somebody is going to always get you. That's life. So, generally speaking, not always worried about self, but always, even difficulty comes, because our life basically is very, very transient, unsatisfactory, and fragile, and nothing in face of the elements. And you cannot protect the unprotectable. You can do what you can reasonably protect from put the roof and then maybe insulate it. And so we have gone a long way to do that. But most people die in insulated rooms. So actually, so they actually, when you die, you'll die even. So you can't constantly try to, protect that you are some indomitable one. So in any case, the sign of Buddha nature is you're very patient with the difficult, particularly things that are harming you. Maybe it looks like instigated directly by somebody, but still you don't feel justified to retaliate, to react, to take action. They call it. Oh, take action. They don't realize they should let's do self-destruction. That's what usually is most reactions of self-destruction. Maybe somebody prompted it, and then one does it not to benefit or reduce the problem, but only to magnify that twice, 3, 4 times, many more times. That's not Buddha nature. That's not enlightening. That's so patient towards harm created by others maybe, but still patient. And that's the virtue. That's the really enlightening. That's the butter coming from, that's the butter you put on bread. Otherwise, it's very unpalatable, not tasty. But when you apply that butter into balm on the boils of samsara, then you feel recovery. That is the Buddha nature. It's a thing you do. It's not what it is. Butter might be there if you're not applying what it is. So you got to apply that. Patient. It's a thing you do. Yeah, and have faith in the triple gem. And in one way, yeah, it's some people don't have that because intellectually or religiously they don't, but they have faith in God. So you got to say, people have faith in triple gem, people have faith in God, and what's the difference? If what people say, people have faith in the God does better than the people who have faith in triple gem, but they have Buddha nature. They have more manifest Buddha nature. They are practicing kindness and all of that. But people who just sort of intellectually think they have faith in triple gem, but they actually are not doing what the teaching says, which is kind, and then of course this is not. So that second point, have faith in the triple gem, is a very important point. But because we now live in a very, very small world, and those who have faith in triple gem is very small. But those who have faith in kindness and tolerance are everybody really. So therefore that's a bit narrow, bit narrow one. But this kind of texts are written in a very, very, very long time ago, for when the world was very small. Now the world has become smaller. Smaller, and we have got to meet and know everybody, and we see many good people who don't do anything religious, but they still do the very kind things. So therefore, we can't say, we who have faith in triple gem are the only one who has Buddha nature. So they have justice equally. So. And the last one is natural inclination to do virtuous things. That means that of course in your good time you will do that, but even when at difficult times you don't get tempted to do anything but to do what is wholesome, what is sane, what is safe, and what is logically useful for oneself or others. So sign is usually shown by the behavior of the person, Buddha nature. So there's the signs of Buddha nature. So basically you should say everybody has these 4. It just question is how manifest they are, because those who are cultivating, they have a moral commitment, they have a precept, maybe they are conscious that they do that. Others may not have conscious reckoning of that, but they have a character like that, like animal I mentioned it. They don't think that it's a virtue. They think it's a merit or something like that, but they do it spontaneously. Yeah. So because that's the nature. Buddha nature is like that. It's in your blood. It's not a teaching. So, unfortunately, many sentient beings, Buddha nature, are impaired. So that's the next one is impaired Buddha nature. Impaired Buddha nature is, what is impairing done is that impaired maybe, it means it doesn't quite allow the Buddha nature to manifest, It's like milk gone wrong, So you're almost about to throw the whole milk, let alone taking the butter out of it, because it's gone old, maybe, gone not used or kept properly. So obsessed by afflictions. But the person is really angry and all very, very greedy, all very, very stupid, or any of the particular afflictions dominated, and he's so afflicted that there is no way that his kindness and tolerance and this, he says he's usually kind, but not in this case. He finds numerous excuses not to practice kindness because he thinks these people will go unpunished. So he wants really, really them to suffer so that the rest of the world will be perfect afterwards. So he's very obsessed. So obsessed by such wrong views, obsessed by affliction, basically. Obsessed by afflictions and wrong convictions, and that is so. And these are also contributed to each other. Company of bad influence, and turning towards darkness. And some people on their own they may not have become so reactive or so, but because they listen to with someone who they, whatever it is, they get influenced, they're just completely swayed by that, and they never found any of their iota of logical assessment left. They're just completely swayed by that flood. And so company of bad influence, and then turning towards some actions they don't realize it's only making it many times worse, let alone fixing any bit of it. So some kind of karmic pattern is so strong that they can't see the virtue of tolerance or virtue of forgiveness, and even not that they don't believe in forgiveness, tolerance, but they just don't want to do it here. And so because of that, they become whipped by this outer, so that Buddha nature is therefore impaired. And the third cause of impaired Buddha nature is destitution and personal misery. When people whose life is very, very difficult, like poverty and war and just basically like hell on earth, hell on earth. We have so many places like that. If not by general kind of poverty or destitution or conflict in the place, by nature, by natural disasters and so forth. When people are so hard hit by these sufferings, they haven't got a little place or thing that they can really draw comfort from, and they just and so many people are displaced by war and natural calamities, and man cause majority of them. Particularly if the climate are caused by man. So basically, and so lots of people cannot have faith in anything doing good when they haven't got a break even to breathe well, So there's a lot of people's life is like that. So that's a destitution and personal misery of untold proportion in life, and to them it's very difficult to bring out Buddha nature. So there's karmic as well. And the last is lacking freedom, often under the influence of others. Some people have no freedom or kind of aspiration to do. They are largely under the influence and control of others, and you don't get enough time or opportunity to break away from the negative or dominating influence of others. So therefore, they lack that kind of freedom. So that's impaired Buddha nature. Next one is severed Buddha nature. Severed Buddha nature is basically very badly damaged. Impaired could be repaired. But But severed Buddha nature is in that particular life. There's no way to revive. So that is lack of virtue that is conducive to enlightenment. That nothing inspires them. They try a little bit and loses heart, and not going on that direction. Engage in performing only destructive and violent conduct. Yeah. So that because of that, destruction of the seeds of virtue. Even the little good that one has started previously, one just goes and destroys all of them in a matter of few moments. One loses the faith or whatever. One finds a very egotistical reason to see no worth it. So that's severing Buddha nature. And inclined to, but never succeeding to do virtues. They have wish, but their wish is not heeded to. So this last point, the 6th point, severed Buddha nature is you see that quite a lot of times. So in Mahayana Buddhist terms, what happens is when a person in order to repair the impaired Buddha nature, and in order that they do not become completely severed Buddha nature, you deliberately go and take bodhicitta. You deliberately go and embrace and accept bodhicitta, the altruism, which will be another topic we'll do, but that you actually know that you have the Buddha potential, Buddha nature, and you don't want that to be impaired or severed by these childish, karmic, emotional reactions, righteous reactions that most people do, and then destroy all the good they did in maybe 10, 15 years, and with a one particular over a miserable, pardonable thing, they take the drive with a great speed and then destroy in no time. So those who have accepted the Buddha nature, who have recognized the manifest signs of Buddha nature, and then deliberately have gone for refuge in the Mahayanas, gone for refuge, because this is analytical Buddhist meditation, person actually accept the triple gem and receive the refuge, and then make a conscious, cultivate Buddha nature. Then they really wanted to protect this by daily discipline, prayer, meditation, study, and so they do not let themselves to be obsessed by certain afflictions, not fall under evil influence of others, not listen to them, and not use one's personal health or financial or whatever difficulties to become the cause of losing the Buddha nature. So when they do that, and then they can cultivate the Buddha nature and prevent it from total annihilation or maybe severing in that life. So what is that? That is the then practice of the 9 meditation, the 9 meditation on Buddha nature. These 9 nature are meditation on nature. I will go over, because what we'll do is when I finish speaking about this, then these 9 are very profound meditations. I show you. These are, it says there's 9 analogies. What the analogy I gave doesn't feature here for some reason. I'm very impressed with the butter one. but there is profound reason that these are more important. So I must come back to here. So first is lotus flower. Yeah. So the example of this first is the lotus flower, but inside the lotus flower there is a we can call it inside the lotus flower there is a Buddha image. Okay, so lotus, very big lotus flower, and it's very big Buddha, and then inside the lotus is a Buddha image. But of course, we cannot see the Buddha. We cannot see the Buddha image. We can only see the lotus flower. And why is the Buddha in the lotus not visible? It's mainly because that the lotus is grown in a mire, grown in mud or water, whatever. So in the environment in which the lotus grow, we were talking about being influenced by people and so on, because of that, and you have intent to be kind, and then people say, no, you shouldn't give them, you will spoil them or whatever. You have all this negative influence. People say you should take action. You might have a soft heart, but people make you to do otherwise. So the mire, even though it's the lotus that is actually made to grow by the mire, but as far as revealing the Buddha image from that lotus is concerned, it is not, because the Buddha nature is very small, whereas the rest of the things are very, 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 very big. So therefore, lotus grown in the mire delights the mind when appearing in front. So the lotus itself is good enough. We want to look for a Buddha in that. So because of that, what is the affliction that we have to negotiate with? Is attachment to the beauty of the lotus flower. Almost in because you're contented with milk, you don't want to look for butter. So you just attach the milk so much you don't think there is butter to be made from that. So the attachment is what we have to use in meditation. When we later meditate, you should think of an attachment in your life and how it has often interfered with you turning to kindness or forgiveness or letting go, all of those things. How the attachment didn't allow the actual Buddha that is hiding inside that lotus. But later that delight disappears. Yeah, later that, of course, the lotus, the seeing of the lotus disappears, and so the joy of attachment is similar. Yeah, so. But the Buddha nature that is hiding, inside the lotus is not visible. Why most people would not imagine there being a Buddha in the lotus, because that's not a normal thing that grows from lotus. Why? It's like normally people they don't think we are divine. We think we're just another person. They don't see the divinity in us. They don't think that we are good. We have kindness. People usually, he did this to harm me. People straight away think it's like we have an ill intent. They don't think we might have done it with a good intent. Maybe we had a kindness in our mind. They don't think he did it deliberately to me, they said. They never say he was deliberately kind to me. It's just terrible. Even though the times that the person who's been kind has been many, many numerous times, but we never use the word. My mother practiced kindness deliberately to me. So in similar situations, we impair. That's how we impair. We forget. We forget that the person might be doing out of goodwill. And if you have the benefit of doubt, nobody actually intend to harm anybody. Most people really try to help each other. If you remember that, straight away, you might look inside the lotus. and then you see the Buddha image hiding in this, and let it feel. That's the cultivation. You got to have this very, very seeker's mind. And what's in the Buddha? What's how fully blossomed the lotus is? Sometimes the lotus quite a lot of beautifully blossom, but in the middle one is still very hard. And if you allow a little bit more water and sun, it could blossom even more. But most people are contented with the peripheries blossoms, and they don't really realize that it's more water could be put, and wait a little bit, and. Wait a little bit, please. Wait a minute, please. Come on. So we have no patience. if you have patience, like it was saying, if you have patience and you have faith and your kindness and natural inclination that towards doing good, you will manifest all the Buddha nature qualities, and then your Buddha nature will manifest. So that's a good subject of meditation, isn't it? Mm. And each of these analogies may look similar, but they're different because there are different levels of unfolding of the mind. When the Buddha nature, from the beginner's mind all the way to the non-practitioner's mind to beginner's mind, then person who's really established in the beginners, and then slowly that there are 10 stages of enlightenment, And so this analogies covers all of those 10 stages. Many levels of blossomings. So therefore, they are not just random examples. These are all in order for a reason. That's why milk doesn't fit there. Second is the swarm of bees. Swarm of bees in a beehive, yeah, swarm of bees, beehive. So the analogy is a swarm of bees, because what you can see is a lot of bees there, and all the bees. You may not like the bees. That's the problem. You might want the honey, but but actually you don't realize it's the bees that makes the honey. There is no bee. There is no comb, honey hive without bees. Without bees, there is no really honey. So just a swarm of bees sting when thoroughly disturbed. If you really don't know how to take the honey, beekeeper knows how to do. He has a little netty thing he wears, and he knows how to not get beaten by the bee, but at the same time he has to really work according to the rules and regulations of the bees, so that he does get the honey, but without being stung. Bee. So this analogy shows that our hatred, our impatience, our intolerance is the one that actually interferes. The very people who we are angry at, or who are impatient, they are the very things that can help you to practice perfection of patience. You're not going to practice patience elsewhere where you don't have to deal like people who sting you. You need people who sting you. If too many nice people around, you will never grow, I tell you. We grow in toughness. So don't seek for all these niceties and then think you're growing. You have a lot of tumbles, you have a lot of fouls and a lot of unexpected things. Still, you realize I need to work with these people, and instead of killing those bees, but learning to respect those bees, and occasionally come and help the honey. Help yourself with the honey by appreciating with the bees, So when you are practicing that, if you really understand the second meditation, you will overcome hatred. You will overcome hatred. You can't overcome hatred first without overcoming attachment. So that's why attachment out of the affliction. You have to reduce the attachment first. Then when attachment is moderated, then your hatred is a lot easier to moderate. Most people are angry because they are not giving up something. And they're not willing to compromise. They still want my way. And so if they cannot let go my way, they cannot really develop tolerance. So that's why these two analogies in that order is very carefully meditators' understanding. Just as swarms of bees sting when thoroughly disturbed, But the beekeeper doesn't get stung, and he also doesn't go there all the time. He just knows exactly when to come, and he doesn't. He actually, the more the bees there, the happier he is. He wanted to still make sure that the right place is there for more bees to come. He wanted to attract more bees to come there. He's not denying, he's not despising the bees. So we, one who has realized, beginning to cultivate Buddha nature, must also treat others who we have difficulties with, that it is only by relying on sentient beings like this, I have opportunity to practice tolerance. I only hear the teaching on tolerance, but I don't get to practice that. So these are the really sentient beings that actually gives me the raw material to practice. They are my real benefactors. So that's the Buddha nature now blossoming. Now you can see the blossoming. And otherwise, if you allow the hatred to remain, then you fight with the bees, you won't get any honey. Yeah, honey will come out of the boils then. we just pass. See? See that? So analogy is getting richer and richer. So these analogies are enlightened ones. And enlightened one gave this analogy. These are not randomly chosen ones. This came from Maitreya's teaching, of course. So that's that. Suffering arises in the heart, people who haven't cultivated Buddha nature. People who cultivate Buddha nature, the more they practice tolerance, no matter how much difficult someone does give, you realize that their suffering actually is far more greater than mine, far more senior than mine. And so I must tolerate this and do something to ease this. And so with that understanding, one doesn't really fight with the bee like sentient beings, but one really work with the bee like sentient beings, because it is only for and with sentient being we can cultivate the Buddha nature, not with rocks. Not with inanimate object, even though sometimes you feel angry with rocks too. Concrete too. The cold weather too. Yes, wait a minute. You don't like Canberra or something. People have nobody around but still angry. Yeah. That's the problem we're talking about. Yeah. So see that until the hatred is overcome, Buddha nature will be interrupted, impaired. Okay, third one, unhusked grain. Unhusked grain. So unhusked grain, unhusked grain says it all, because the grain is protected in the husk. So until such a time when it's safe for the grain to come out of the husk, it's better to stay there. So we want the grain. But we don't know unhusked grain actually has the grain in it. So just as the grain of rice and so on are obscured by the external husk, likewise seeing the meaning of essence means emptiness of self. This is now getting to a higher level. Obscured by the covering of ignorance. Ignorance of the self doesn't really exist from its own side, singularly or independently or inherently. When we don't even check that carefully, we just think, I am, I'm me. Because we don't have this seeing of one who realized the lack of self. Every single paraphernalia that we think is self is a proof of it's not. So when one who hasn't had the ability to see that, of course, is ignorant. Means doesn't know. Doesn't know there is no self, and then instead he goes on as there is a truly existing self. But one who is able to know, meditate. It is the knowledge, awareness of the ignorance. Is the awareness of the ignorance. When you realize that, then the husk itself is only the covering. What's inside is not the husk. So the body is not self. and body is simply covering that Buddha nature, the Buddha nature. It may look like a people or whatever, but deep down, everybody has a Buddha nature. And not knowing that is ignorant, and one who knows that is now no longer ignorant of that. So that's like progressing. And the next, so that's those first three analogies are meditative of a person on the path of accumulation, the path of preparation. So this is a not quite realized vipassana, not quite realized no self. And the fourth one onwards is Maya covered gold. If somebody drops the gold chain or gold rings and it falls into a mud or something, and then he couldn't find it. The fact that he couldn't find it, he lost the ring, doesn't mean it's not there somewhere. It just isn't on his neck. That's the problem. But it's actually right where it came from. It probably came from the mire anyway. So the mire covered gold, and as impurities are incompatible. Yeah, the mud is incompatible with gold, so you can't see the gold in the mud. But compatible with those having attachment, because they cause engagement and passion. In this way, violent outbursts are likened to impurities. So people who are unable to realize no self, and therefore do not see that practicing compassion or tolerance as a Buddha nature, by practicing that itself will actually, the gold has never decreased and it will not be tarnished, it will not rust. That's not the nature of that metal. So this question is whether you can pinpoint where actually it is. So when you can't find, you become violent or you just outburst. And so any kind of overreactions people make, that impairs the Buddha nature, and that therefore severs the Buddha nature. The actual gold has not lost. Actual gold probably is staying very safe. Staying very safe. Even if it stay under in the mud for 100 years, still will not reduce the size. It still will be there. That's the nature of gold. Like that, Buddha nature is actually there, but due to the emotiveness of the deluded sentient beings, they are not able to stay present to make the Buddha nature manifest. So what we're going to do is first meditate briefly on those four analogies. What we're going to do is we will read the verse together and then pause at least for a little while. And you can relate, you can analyze in our life situations where we often are mired, often overreact, often completely ignorant, and so on. So with this, use that analogies and then meditate and get some clarity and conviction. So let's read the lotus flower example. Lotus grown in the mire delights the mind when appearing in front, but later that delight disappears. So the joy of attachment is similar. Swarm of bees? Just as a swarm of bees sting when thoroughly disturbed. Likewise, when hatred arises, suffering arises in the heart. Unhusked grain. Just as the grains arise and so on are obscured by the external husk, likewise seeing the meaning of the essence is obscured by the covering of ignorance. My cover gold. As impurities are incompatible but compatible with those having attachment because they cause engagement and passion. In this way, violent outbursts are likened to impurities. Underground mind. Suppose that wealth is obscured, not knowing it, that treasure cannot be obtained. Likewise, in living beings, the naturally arising potential is obscured by the earth of latent ignorance. Sprouts of seeds. Just as the sprout and such grow, split the skin of the seeds. Likewise, by seeing suchness, the abandonments of the seeing are averted. The statue in the tattered cloth. Having connected with the path of the superiors, for those who have overcome the essence of the transitory collection, the objects abandoned by the wisdom of path meditation are shown to resemble the tattered cloth. Pregnant Queen. The defilements related to the 7 grounds are similar to the impurities of the womb. Release from that womb is like the non-conceptual wisdom well matured. The last one, the mold. The defilements related to the 3 grounds are known as like the stain or the mud, the objects to be eliminated by the great beings, fragile like concentration. So, as we went through the first 4 analogies, the first 4 analogies is up to the place before you gain the special insight, the first bhumi. And then when what do we call that? The underground mine analogy number 5, which because treasure is hidden underground, like under your house that you recently bought. But you actually don't know that there's a mine, and that somebody knows there is a mine. Of course, then it will be totally different value of the land. Likewise, often we are obscured seeing the goodness of the people, or seeing the kindness of other people, of ourselves as well. And we don't realize that everybody has Buddha nature. They are also practicing They are also just as they believe in all the teachings, all the things we value, So to assume that they don't practice this, they are not good, or when we, because of the thing that covers us from seeing the treasure that is hidden underground, and then that we cannot get the treasure like ourselves, we cannot realize because of the ignorance. The latency or potency of the ignorance is so sedimented like the earth that we cannot see. But actually every sentient being has this naturally abiding Buddha nature, isn't it? Every sentient being has Buddha nature. But one who knows that, then of course will be able to reveal the treasure. Yeah, reveal the treasure. And when people like Angulimala came in front of Buddha, everybody was going to want to punish him and stone them to death. But Buddha could see the Buddha potential. Yeah, so he wouldn't reject him. He wouldn't see the use of reacting childish way how to punish him. But he says he too, Angulimala too, has a Buddha nature. And then when he was allowed to practice, no sooner he became arhat. So that is what we're talking about, because only one who's enlightened can see in others that they have Buddha nature. There are a lot of stories about that. And then number 6 is sprouts of the seeds. It is the seeds that has just germinated is now a sprout, and soon it may become a little thing, stem growing and so forth. And once it has completely ceased to be the seed, and then germinate from that, and then itself will become full tree of enlightenment, so to speak. And so when all the afflictions, gross 112 afflictions abandoned, then one has the path of seeing. That's where really one has reached the path of seeing, the first bhumi. So number 6 is the actual example of path of seeing. Then what we have is the number 7 example is a statue that is covered in a tattered, dirty cloth and then thrown in the corner of the street, like that. For example, that the one nobody noticed there is a statue inside the cloth. Yeah. Having connected with the path of superior, so that on those who has this ability to see, they see the transient collection, the surface on the others, or the just like our body, or these are not really the thing. What's inside everybody is there is a Buddha nature, and one who really enters into this what is called path of meditation. This is after path of seeing, path of meditation. This is from now the 2nd, 3rd, all the way to the to different stages of meditation. Because all the things one has to do is like removing the tattered cloth, and then to see what is really inside the tattered cloth. So therefore, one should. As one realizes the transientness of the non-selfness of the aggregates, and of sense perception and sense organs and opinions not being self, and then having discarded all of that, then you'll be able to bring the statue of the enlightened one. That's what's because it's right now it's covered by the cloth, due to not having succeeded through the different stages of path of meditation. The pregnant queen, who's a baby in her tummy, is a future king. So all the subtle defilements that one has to overcome on the first 7 bhumis, that says defilements related to 7 grounds of similar impurities of the womb. But the impurities of the womb is not going to sort of impair the king. It's actually in which the king is being made. Yeah. But when a time comes when he's released from the womb, then like that we also have non-conceptual wisdom. And so the becoming king is that is that you no longer are conceptually grasping to self as real. Yeah. So when it's just like queen giving birth to a royal baby, and then the baby is just matter of age that he will become king, and then the babyness and childness is only a conceptual thing, but he's destined to become king. So mature. So a person going through the 7 lower bhumis, up to the 8th bhumi is very difficult. There are many hurdles to come through. A long time it takes. So practitioner matures. There's a lot of spiritual isolation that one experiences in that level, that there's no one one relates to or others can relate to you, because you become like a reclusive, like real hermit. And but one who is matured, what is it there to claim? Of course, then actually is very, very distant to become the enlightened one. The last one is the mold of the. If you have a mold made out of lacquer or whatever, wax or whatever the material the mold is made out of, if you have a mold, you can make golden statues from that. It doesn't have to be only a clay one. As long as it's a mold. So Buddha nature is like the mold. So the last three bhumis, 8th, 9th, and 10th. These are the defilements related to 3 grounds are known as the stain of the mud. It's just they can wash. The object to be eliminated by the great beings, Vajra-like concentration, what's called diamond-like meditation. It will not break. By making one statue from the mold is not broken. Mold still stays to produce many statues, an infinite number. So therefore, every sentient being, one who reaches that level knows everybody is a future Buddha. And one who knows the Buddha nature, and then said, this person too has Buddha nature. I shouldn't dismiss him like this. I shouldn't be angry or negative. This is actually jeopardizing my own Buddha nature. Actually, he's got also Buddha nature. It just need to get the right material to make that. So in this way, this is the subject, subject of Buddha nature is very good to meditate on, because it's very inspiring. It starts with the whole Mahayana kind of a point of departure is that everybody has Buddha nature, and everybody shows the signs of it. Even those who are impaired, we should make sure that doesn't cause us to impair ours. And then we should help the others to repair by our Buddha nature, because we are cultivating. We consciously cultivating, then we become much more gentler, more positive and faithful in seeing the good in each. And so therefore, and even in Mahayana, usually we say everybody has been my mother. If you think of that, they think it's good enough. But this one is even better than that. Everybody has a Buddha nature. Even though difficult mothers, but they all have Buddha natures. So it's a great improvement thinking everybody's mother. Everybody is Buddha, and Vajrayana goes not very soon. The person is now able to practice Vajrayana because everybody is a Buddha. According to Vajrayana, everybody is a Buddha because you say all forms are Buddhas, all sound are mantras, all thoughts are wisdom. So you can see how crucial it is for the idea of the Buddha nature having that as a potential, what we call clay, and sometimes we call. We call mother-like clay light, So when we die, the statue get out of the tattered cloth. So all the aggregates and these things removed, our consciousness, that is clear light, then fuses with the cultivated clear light, which is childlike clear light, and then you recognize that, and then you become enlightened. Because to do that, you got to really see everybody has a Buddha nature. Try to perceive the good, and whatever things you see is just different kinds of obscurations. All those analogies that was covering the things are all the gross karma, obscuration, affliction, to subtle knowledge, what we call subtle knowledge of self as truly existing. When these are slowly unveiled, and for that, and for the person doing Vajrayana practices who do mantra, deity yoga, they always not only meditate themselves as the not Buddha nature, but I'm the Buddha. And because you see yourself as Buddha, then you try to see others as just as a reflection of that. So it's very necessary for all people who do Vajrayana, sadhana, meditation, to have a good grasp of this analytical meditation on Buddha nature. So, of course, here we don't have much time to do more than that. I'm sure you will do whole week Buddha nature. Any questions before we finish for a few minutes?
I always think that when everybody knows that what is wrong and what is right, inherently, deep down, and so that if someone does something wrong, they suffer because they may deny it, but deep down they know they've done the wrong thing. Do you think that's kind of Buddha nature as well? That we all know inherently what's right?
Inherently? No. Not inherently, though. There's nothing inherently right or wrong. That's the reason why you can, because nothing is inherently right or wrong, everything is dependently right or wrong. So when we back away from the notion of inherently, then we have the ability to, it's only from my point of view, it may look like this, but from this person's point of view, different things. So I have to really, therefore it's only dependent perception. What is right or wrong is only, may look on the surface something, but intentionally, what is the intention? So we straight away look at our intention. So the dependent means two persons have not the same view. If it's inherently right or wrong, every 36 people will say right or wrong. In the West, if you got 51%, they consider to be very lucky. They call winner. 51%. If you have 51% vote, 49 says no, but still you have 51. You still, relatively speaking, you have the vote, so to speak. But there is no inherently 100% getting. Nobody get 100%. There is no 100%. So exactly the opposite. That there is nothing that is inherently right or wrong. Everything is basically dependently right or wrong. But inherently, there's no right or wrong. That there's nothing to right or wrong. There is no self in an ultimate level.
Couldn't you say that causing suffering is inherently wrong?
Cause of suffering?
Like if you I know that you can't solely be the cause of suffering, but if you are part of the cause of suffering, that is inherently wrong?
See, it lot depends what you think, what you know, what is inherent. Mm-hmm. Inherent means that it only has by itself or from its own nature, or it is permanently. Mm-hmm. So it's not permanent. It's not by itself. And it's not always the nature, Mm-hmm. It's suffering is we can say unsatisfactory, but if you know the suffering, then the suffering becomes cause of tolerance, cause of compassion. So it's not inherently bad. This suffering is not inherently bad. Those who actually learn that, those who learn to know that suffering is not inherent, therefore they can overcome. If we are inherently sick, we can never get well. We will never try get medicine. Because even sickness is not inherent, it's dependent to the chemistry in the body, what elements you have, what you don't have, and therefore to balance that you put some medicine, because it's inherently bad, then we cannot do anything. Because actually the illness is not inherently bad, it's dependently good, because all the medicines we have discovered from illnesses, not from medicine. So even all the medicines are not inherently good, because they came from understanding of illnesses. So illness could not be inherently bad either. Mutually inclusive, they call it. The mutual inclusivity in Buddhism means there is not independently, inherently, and permanently. These three are very key words, yeah? Key words.
What about Buddha nature?
That's good, yeah. The Buddha nature, Buddha nature is on ultimate level true, and there is that debate between the scholars just for the sake of philosophy. They say so. Buddha nature is permanent, and they say there is a philosophical fallacy to say that. But they said, oh well, yeah, you might have some point there, but we rather have Buddha nature than not. So in the end, people really rather have Buddha nature. If the Buddha nature is inherently, you can't cultivate it. So therefore, it cannot be impaired. And so therefore, the Buddha nature also is advantageously impaired or obscured. You can lose the ring in the mud. But you don't have the ring. So therefore, the gold is not inherently on your finger. But when it is in the mud, I don't think the nature thinks, oh, we got our gold back. They don't think like that. It's only us we think the gold was lost. But actually, Mother Nature says, oh, it came where it belonged. Doesn't like to sit on that oily finger anyway. They rather go back to the nature elements maybe. Yeah, philosophically that argument there exists, but the actual practical level, what is the function of Buddha nature is Buddha nature allows us to move away from darkness and bad thoughts and change our thoughts, and then discover that in the Maya you can actually see and that, And then in the meantime, then the even the Maya is probably part of the gold. Because from the Mother Nature point of view, Maya is also Maya. They don't call it Maya. They probably wouldn't even call Maya or gold. They're all Buddha nature. So some people have said, oh, so inanimate thing has also Buddha nature. And the whole debate has gone for ages. They haven't resolved it. But if you look at the function of the Buddha nature, then the function of the Buddha nature is very, very hearty, healing and opening and kind, and you start seeing good in others, and that means you are cultivating, and you are sort of removing, and then so that's very powerful teachings. And this topic that we covered tonight came from a book called Uttara Tantra. Of course, there are many other Buddhist texts, Mahayana Buddhist texts, sutras on Buddha nature itself, Tathagata Garbha Sutra. But the Tathagata Garbha Sutra is the what you call classical text. And then later on, a Sangha wrote five texts, and one of them is called Uttara Tantra. In that, the chapter 6 is all about this. So we have covered that tonight. Thank you for your listening, and we have something to dedicate tonight. Analytical, page 11 and 12, you do the dedication of merits. Dedication of merits is usually you do at the end of the prayer, as we start with. We just say, look, I understood a little bit of this Buddha nature, and through this listening and benefit, I will benefit Lord, and I'll be kind, I'll have the pure perception that everybody has Buddha nature, and whatever we see in others, see them as a bees, or and depending whether they look like bee or stinging ones, or the kind of or the tattered cloth ones, depending to what characters of neurosis our mind is perceiving. So we'll learn to treat them very well. So with that, we do the dedication.